Bam. Okay, so now let's go to YouTube. You can start talking to people.
We're live already. Okay, all right, everybody, welcome. And we're starting something new called the Love Talk. And in the Love Talk, we're going to actually reconnect to our hearts. We're going to cover different subjects, different themes that has to do with coming back into the power of your heart. And our goal and our dream is that in these dark times that we can truly bring a group of people back to their power, to their light, to their happiness. And I don't know about you, but yeah, it's taking a toll, the times that are going on each one of us right now. And I thought for a long time that I was immune to all of this, that it didn't affect me. I don't know if it's a kind of arrogance or just believing in, you know, that I am cool, I'm okay, I'm balanced and all of that. And
you are cool, you are okay. And yeah, I know what you mean.
Still, yeah.
These are intense times. I'm noticing that in our platforms, our forums, our groups, our friends, our family, you know, it's not only taking its toll, but this new development with Russia and the Ukraine being in conflict is really giving this sense of we're at war, you know, whole global meaning that even if we don't engage with media, even if we do our best to keep our own bubble safe, it's going to affect us. And we're seeing it in, you know, facts and hard facts and realities, like the price is going up, you know, messages are being put out there. I saw that the US government is being given out guidelines to their population about how to behave if there was a nuclear fallout. So these are all messages that are affecting us, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, and I think that it is like, what else is going to need to break the camel's back, you know, coming out after 2 years of being focused on you know, all the stuff that is not good, all the people that are dying. So now just again, we're in the next phase. And the big question is, how do you stay in your power? How do you create a bubble of energy around you that you no longer are, you know, affected by what's going on a global, let's say, scale? And the second thing is, how can you make a difference as well? You know, one thing is to protect yourself, and it's to make a difference.
I think a lot of us are not only, you know, struggling with keeping our own bubble safe, but even if we're able to do that, you can't but not feel empathy and compassion for all those that are really suffering right now. So how do we still rise above that fray and make a positive impact? And I think that's what our talk today should be about, of what are the things that we can do to, you know, keep spreading that love and that joy and taking a stand for peace and humanity.
Absolutely. And maybe you've noticed that, you know, in your relationships and your friendships and with the people around you, maybe family, that there's another field of tension going on right now. And that is what's happening in the world. And even if there's no precise thing that you can put your finger on, but you know there's an extra heaviness, an extra, I would say, burden that we are affected by. And, you know, and some of us who are very open and have a lot of empathy, and if we do not know how to transform that into healing for ourselves and others, it can affect us really, really deeply.
Well,
and the other people's running around.
I like how the Dalai Lama makes that distinction between empathy and compassion. So empathy is you see a guy lying under a huge rock suffering, like, oh my God, get this rock off me. And empathy is you go up and you really feel the pain and you go lie down under the rock with that guy and say, oh, I feel you. And compassion is you go find someone to remove the rock. And I like that because you see one is the pillar of the other. Without empathy, will struggle finding compassion. And that's why I think it's so important for children already to be taught empathy and compassion when they're small. And I'm noticing that Grace also from school is bringing back these topics of, you know, what's happening in the Ukraine, noticing that, wow, from Austria, it's only 300-400 kilometers away. It's not that far away, even though it feels like another world. So I think many of us are not only struggling for ourselves, but struggling as parents, as partners, of how can I be most supportive? And I think this is a big thing that is going on for women, but especially for men, because I should imagine that seeing that this patriarchy is crumbling and seeing that, you know, the disastrous effects of decades, centuries of patriarchy are, you know, affecting us all, whatever gender we are. So my question to you is, right, how do you as a man find that balance between having empathy and compassion for what's going on, knowing that things need to change, that this change is affecting you personally as well, right? So how do you find that balance between acceptance and action?
Yeah, that's exactly the topic that I'm working on right now, in the sense that since I've noticed what it has done to me, how in a way, if I'm really completely honest, and I look back, I didn't even recognize myself. I know for a fact this wasn't me the way I am. Let's say I'm perfect, but this wasn't me. And this has been going on for already before the Ukraine things began. And I just got now so obsessed in the news, what's happening and what's going on. And then I realized that was not helping myself. I was actually getting more tense, and every hour checking if something happened in Ukraine, if what are the Russians doing and all of that. And then there's a threat with nuclear war and all those things. And I just noticed that if I focus on what I don't want, that's where my empathy for the people suffering really affects myself in that sense as well. So it's kind of interesting that you said about the difference between empathy and compassion. That right now, and that's the reason why also I decided to leave everything just as it is, and to take a few days off, and to really truly reconnect with myself, to meditate more. You know, I'm not in a beautiful place on the island where I was born, close to the sea, to be in the sea, to breathe, you know, and just to not be focused on the outside world. And then I can connect to that suffering of the world. And then I could feel like I can do something. Not that I can see anything happening, but at least I can feel now that I can send positive energy into the field instead of being part of the negative energy in the field. And the moment you start doing that, you start noticing that you're being uplifted at the same time as well. So I'm stepping out of my powerlessness, feeling, you know, the powerlessness into, even if it's just one little tiny drop that I can give, I'm going to give that little tiny drop, because that's what I can do right now. So for me, that's feeling that I do have a choice to do something or not really makes a difference for me. And it gives me back a kind of I would say a better feeling than where I was before. So that's for me how I'm dealing with this right now.
So what I'm hearing is you're reining back that focus from the outside, following the news the whole time, being, you know, on the pulse, and you're focusing back on yourself and saying, okay, how can I find peace? How can I center myself? How can I be aware of what's going on, but still hold that positive bubble of energy upright? Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And also to then focus on the things that are also good in your life, because the moment you can go back to the feeling.
You mean good in my life? You're focusing on what's good in my life? Or you're focusing on what's...
So that's the point I'm making, is if you can increase your frequencies, if you can increase your good energy, it is like having more power to give. You know, when you're down, you have less power to give. So I think it's very important for us to bring ourselves back in that state where we feel well, where we feel happy, where we feel, I would say, more of our power, more of our heart. And from that state, it's easier to be a part of the solution and not part of the negative frequencies.
For sure. We know that, you know, wherever focus goes, energy flows. So whatever we're focusing on is going to grow. So what would you say to someone who's right now just not in a good space? This, you know, they know that I have to lift myself up, I have to feel better, I have to have more positive thoughts, but I just can't. I am so weak. down with grief, with anxiety, with whatever it is, frustration, lack of abundance, just a feeling of stuckness. What's the first step that someone could take if they're just watching now and they say, yeah, it's all good for you. You in Curacao, you're in the tropical island. Well, I got next month rent to pay. My children need feeding. What would be that one thing that you would tell them that they can do?
What we need to understand from a neurological standpoint of view is that any state that we are in is reflected back into our body. So our bodies adapt to our state. So if we are depressed, our body will be in a different kind of state. We'll be looking downwards, our shoulders will be contracted, those kind of things. So every state has a representation in our neurological system and is then being, let's say, projected onto body. So one of the most powerful ways to break that state is to change your physiology, to change, call it a pattern interrupt, maybe to do something physical, maybe to go outside into nature, maybe to scream, maybe to run. But the first thing we need to do is change the state that we are in.
To do something different, right?
Exactly. And research has shown for people who are depressed, if they start jogging within a month, the state change. Why is that? Because you cannot jog in a depressed state. In the physiology that you're depressed, you cannot jog. So you need to straighten your shoulders. You need to look forward. You're not looking down, you're looking forward. And that in itself, changing the physiology of the body has a tremendous impact on our emotional state. And the other...
You don't even have to jog. So if anyone watching and saying, oh, I can't jog, just taking a walk. So in a recent study that was actually, it's quite an old study that was done, they took a bunch of people and all they changed was that these people would go for a walk for 20 minutes a day. And just doing that gave 83% of all participants a definite shift in their mood. So they felt better. So changing your physiology, doing, victory pose, just stretching up, it's all about expansion, I feel, don't you think?
Absolutely. And the other physiological, let's say, chain reactions is how we breathe. So when we are depressed, we breathe different than when we are excited. And breathing is something that we can easily manage and change. So we can use our breath in so many different ways to release emotions, to vitalize our body. So breathing, taking the time to really consciously breathe deep in and out, and to visualize how every time you breathe out, you let go of all the old, and when you breathe in, you are revitalizing the system. So breathing also is a very, very powerful and easy tool that everybody has to their disposition. It's not something, you don't need even special courses to breathe or walk outside. So these are all the changes that we can make immediately in our physiology. And I think the third one that's very important is to then start asking yourself different questions. And so, for example, instead of being in the kind of a vicious cycle, why is this happening? What is going to be happening next? How can this become even worse? Is there going to be a nuclear war or not? We can ask questions to ourselves, simple questions like, right now, who do I love? Right now, what am I living for? What am I motivated by? What inspires me? How can I make a difference?
What am I grateful for?
Exactly. And so when we look at these things, so change of physiology by something simple like walking, breathing, and asking different questions, we can start coming out of this collective, I would say, heavy energies that most of the world is in right now. And it was not going to be over tomorrow. So we cannot just sit by and watch. We need to start first with ourselves and start making the changes in that. And it's no coincidence that right now in these times, that before even Ukraine and Russia began, that we're planning to do this workshop on the power of your heart. So it's like become 10 times more important. And we want so many people to come in because we truly believe that we can give you the tools to be in your power of your heart, to open your heart again, to remove all the restrictions. And then, so yes, again, I'm always surprised by the synchronicity of events, that when you plan something, that it's just like the right thing that's coming up right now. Okay. And another note I truly I'm looking at is we have the youth that is right now suffering for a big time, the young ones, the children, but even the adolescents, the young ones, they're suffering. And a lot of them are addicted now to the screens, and they're distracted and so on. And it feels almost like we're losing a generation. We're coming out with young people who are traumatized and who are being impregnated for their lives with fear and panic and terror. So my heart goes out to them as well. And my dream is that also they will have let profit from this. If the parents come to a workshop, they can make a difference. They can be with their children and show them how to come out of these heavy emotional states and to shift that into a positive state. And I think the young ones need it really, really bad right now.
I agree. And I think as parents, we have that responsibility to act as role models. So if our children see ourselves, that we are helping ourselves, then we'll start getting interested. And then it's way easier to open that door rather than telling a child, do this now, right? But I'm not doing that talk myself. So yeah, we're talking about this Power of Your Heart workshop. It's a live event, finally hosting again after years of this being a difficult thing. And as the COVID restrictions in Holland have been lifted, we are teaching live from Rotterdam. And we're really excited about teaching together again, being able to gather with people in person and to do it at the same time. So that was, I remember, also part of our visions 10 years back when we had no idea about live streaming and that something like this would be possible, right? And now it is. And we even can do simultaneous translation. We're going to be teaching in English, translating into Dutch. And yeah, I feel really enthusiastic about the opportunity of gathering in a room together and then bringing in the live audience as well, because it really just creates such a magical bubble.
Yeah, and I think what's important, because a couple of things that we'll be doing is also breaking free from that heavy energy, breaking free from being part of that fear, breaking free from all the frustration, and to then clean it all up. And then look also at what we call the karmic links. I call it the spider web that you are entrapped in with all these unresolved issues and emotions and traumas and pain. Also, that needs to be cleared. And then finally, you arrive to the point where you create your own bubble of light, where you are the light bulb in your own energy field. And from that light, it's so much easier to send it out to the world. And I believe that, we've done so many different workshops, but this workshop, I feel, is really hitting to the core to really help people to open their hearts again, to open their hearts to love, but also to receive, because we've been closing ourselves up, especially in the last couple of years. We've just been hunkering down, getting afraid of anybody else, invisible little microorganisms that can kill us. So we've closed out our field and also our ability to open our hearts. So that's closed. And I think it's time now that we come out of that. And I think also that everyone who's come to this workshop can also help others again, even if you're not a coach or therapist. But if we can all pass the light to the next one, to our loved ones, to our friends, then we can create this true ripple effect that can go sometimes way beyond the boundaries of what we can even imagine because of internet and then the countries we can reach with this kind of energy. And that the other thing that's important is that to not feel alone more by yourself, that you're not in this alone, because that's also one of the phenomena that happen right now, that a lot of people are feeling lonely and isolated from, what they know to be, a kind of a kind environment. And then, I'm here in Curacao, and then you see still that people, are doing the masking in such a fanatic way that,
masking?
Yeah, the masking, and not only, but people are you go into a shop and they can get really aggressive about it. It's like they've been so indoctrinated here, and I don't recognize the Curacao people anymore. I mean, of course they're there, but they've been also frightened into out of their normal, I would say, mindset and attitude of, everything is good. And, if you cannot do something today, you do it tomorrow. And you can feel the tension here. And then for me, that's a big surprise to see the infiltration of the negativity in a population that I know as positive and, relaxed and like the Hawaiian thing, hang loose. And yeah, I miss that here. And yet it's still, there are people there that are different, but I see that, and my heart really, really is filled with love for them, because they do not know better. They've been just hypnotized into this fear and that kind of stuff. That people truly, can you imagine that we need to wear a plastic glove to get our food? I mean, I don't know another hotel I've been to in the pandemic they need to wear a glove, but here they're wearing gloves. Outside you don't wear mask. The moment you go inside an open space, you have to wear mask. My heart really, really feels that and then sometimes I want to do something about it, but I don't have the time right now to do that. But yeah, that for me was awakening.
Here's a suggestion. Let's talk about the things that we can do at the workshop. So you've mentioned a few, and I'd like to add to that. So the main intention of our Power of the Heart workshop is to gather with a group of people and to really dive into what it takes to manifest from the heart, rather than from fear, rather from all this feeling of contraction and containment. How can we expand, and how can we use that energy that we have to really create more of what we want? So we're going to be working on all the stuff that can sabotage us from trusting love, from being in our hearts. That means cutting links, cutting energetic links to topics, to people, to past events, to things that have traumatized us, that have made us to who we are now, that we no longer resonate with. We're also going to be working on heart walls. Heart walls are things that we can build around us to try and protect. But the problem with that is that if we protect our heart with lots of walls, then that love can't get in, nor can it go out. So all these topics are going to be things that we're going to work on with breath work. We have amazing guest trainers. We're going to be using sacred geometry from Janosch. We're going to be doing interesting stuff with Brahman Mena, who is someone who actually lives on this pranic energy. And we're going to use all our tools and all our wisdom to really co-create a magical event that we would love you to be part of. And we're also going to be hosting a webinar. Maybe you'd like to say something about that, Roy?
Yeah, so in the webinar, we're going to actually explain to you exactly what it all is, what makes us powerless, what is taking away our capacity to love, what is blocking that, and how is this created, and why is this created? Why do we have to go through these phases? Why is this happening now? So we're going to give already tips that you can start right away, so you can start working on breaking free from the collective, understanding how we are in this, I would say, amazing spider web of, I would say, heavy energies just from the people around us, because we're all affected by that. How to get out of the collective, which is very important, and how, again, to build up this field around you, this bubble of energy that can make all the difference. And what is also important for people to realize, you're not alone. There are so many, let's say, energies that can help us. One very important thing is also what is called epigenetics, the impact of our ancestors on how we experience life now in the moment. And of course, we have the spiritual impact. I can truly believe that a lot of people have chosen to incarnate in this time because what is happening right now. And when we see how many people are waking up right now, it is with droves that we've not seen before. So on one side, it is terrible. On the other side, in order to build something new, we have to go through, the burning down of the old structures and principles. Like you said also, Joy, at some moment about the patriarchy. We cannot continue like that. It's destroying the planet, it's destroying everything here, and it's destroying the chance of the next generation. So we want to be part of that. And it all begins in your heart, because your heart is the bridge between the past and the future, the bridge between the 3D materialistic world and the 5D spiritual world. So the heart is the part that is suffering the most right now. And the heaviness in the heart is what we need to release. And so that's what the webinar is about, to start explaining the principles and the why we need the toolbox, which we're giving in the workshop, so that people can make an informed decision. We can say, yes, you need this workshop. But for a lot of people, that's not enough. They really need to understand, what are we going to do? And why is this important? And why is this right now important? Exactly right now. And then you can make your informed decision. Is this something for me or not? I think it couldn't be even more powerful than just having that right now.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I hope we inspired you to join our gang of joyful heart love spreaders, heart ambassadors. And yeah, thank you for the conversation, right?
There's one more thing I want to ask you, Jerry, because I feel also that before we let go, if you allow that, I also feel right now a lot of people are suffering with financial issues, that they're, a lot of people are holding back because they're feeling insecure. And so my question that I have for those people is, why would this be the best investment right now for you to make? And we know we've cut the prices to half of what it was, just to accommodate as many people as possible on the workshop. And it's even possible to do the online workshop with several people and split the price. So for these 3-day workshops, 18 to 20 of March, you can even do it for whatever, less than $50 if you do it with a little group of friends and stuff like that. So what is your, when we talk, because we also work in the workshop on the law of attraction. So what would you say to these people that feel like a little bit intimidated because they have to pay some money? What would be your message be for them?
Well, from my experience, every single dime I invested in myself, that doesn't mean new shoes, but it does mean in educating myself, in investing into self-growth, into personal transformation, into shifting those things with just not sitting right. They all paid back multifold. So it was always the best investment I could make. And I remember that actually, those times when I was least willing to part with money to put it in myself, those were the workshops that were most transformative. And they were usually the most expensive ones. So if I don't know, Tony Robbins or Joe Dispenza, all the incredible teachers that we've been to, every time I dug deep and really said, okay, I'm going all in, I was just more committed, because you see, that's the way that we actually, function. It's simple. The more dollars I put in this, the more I'm going to be willing to look after it and to kind of give it all. And I know that anybody who joins those 3 days, even if you don't join all the time and you say, okay, I'm going to watch that bit later, by being in that energy and really just doing one of the meditations, one of the breathwork practices and going all in, you will create change. You can't not. So all of us together have decades of experience in teaching. We have incredible success rates with our own clients. And that together, in that power of a hive mind, of that connection, when literally hundreds of people are sitting in their heart spaces, it has to do something. So I'm most excited about the global ripple effect that we'll create. I know that these workshops always have that in it. And I also look forward to hearing all the feedback and all those transformations that we've together been able to make happen. And then I know that that will be passed on. And that is indeed that what we want, right? That it is a passing on of the torch. And the more bees we are out there buzzing with love, the more successful our whole hive will be.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
My message to you is you are worth it.
Absolutely. And also just think about your friends that you may need right now something to really shift where they are to a higher level. So please share and invite friends. And maybe I think it's so nice when you can do something like this with friends, that you can share and that you can buddy with each other. And, for the people online, you can be on Zoom talk with each other, really make this something that will not only impact you, but your family, your friends, and all of that. So please share. And, we will be hosting this workshop or webinar So if you want to know more, you can come to the webinar, or you can click on the link. And if your heart says yes,
and so yeah, if your heart says yes, you said?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, follow your heart. That's what the power of your heart is all about. That's the whole point, right? Okay.
Agree.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.